Hello everyone! Jaguar has a strong body with a powerful spatial structure made of aluminum alloy. Its share here is 75%. The doors, the trunk lid and the rear part of the bottom are made of steel sheet. Again, for better weight distribution along the axis. Therefore, the car is practically indifferent to corrosion, at least until the iron parts of the body surrender to rust for a natural reason. Many more long years and winters will pass. But the details of the external decor, and there are enough of them on the car, cannot resist the onslaught of chemicals that are sprinkled and watered on our roads. Of course, the durability of the Jaguar body cannot be compared with the paintwork of the Koreans and the inexpensive Japanese, but after 3 years, scratches and chips already appear on the XF body, and the chrome elements become cloudy and even covered with dark spots. But this is the problem of absolutely all foreign cars that spend their lives in Russia. In addition, there are a lot of ways to radically protect the body from corrosion and rot chemicals, from waxing the body to booking it with a special protective film. It is much more dangerous to miss the moment when an unsuccessfully laid wiring harness stretched along the trunk lid to the rear optics face. By the way, the wiring itself in the bundle does not differ in thickness and strength. This problem was still on the predecessor and it was fixed in various ways. The most inexpensive and simplest is the laying of a flexible tie on the rear at the bend. At least delay the replacement period for a couple of years. In general, electrical equipment is not the most problem-free Jaguar XF system. Crashes and glitches happen here from time to time. True, most of them disappear after restarting the engine, but sometimes there are serious problems, the repair of which will cost a pretty penny. So, for example, the keyless access system ceases to recognize its own or does not close the car on demand. Or the door closer fails. In fairness, we note that the owners themselves or ignorant passengers ruin it, slamming the doors during their automatic closing. Various sensors and electronic components are buggy, the central locking and glass servos are moping. The washer switch in the automatic modes can also be capricious, although even on the machine of the previous generation this defect, which was considered massive, had already been eliminated. However, these malfunctions are of a floating, spontaneous nature and may appear sporadically. The car, as they say, is crammed with electric gadgets to the eyeballs, so it is very afraid of current leakage, hence the increased requirement for the battery. You need to constantly monitor its charging, especially if the car is often idle. As soon as the battery dies, and it is prone to self-discharge, equipment failures begin in the electrician. However, the car always warns of a low battery level by displaying information on the dashboard. This warning cannot be ignored. Otherwise, some electronic components and devices may fail, the repair of which will cost a pretty penny. And further, when replacing the battery, make sure that its capacity is not less than that of the one standard. But the motor electrics of the XF is quite reliable, however, like the engines themselves. On the second generation of the model, the British abandoned these problematic Ford units, replacing them with their own 2-liter gasoline and diesel force of the Ingenium family, first 200 and 240 forces, and since 2017, 200 and 250 forces. And it is right. After all, the turbo engines borrowed from Ford were distinguished by a whole bunch of malfunctions. They were noticed in an increased appetite for engine oil, compression in the cylinders disappeared, pistons burned out and their annular partitions broke during active driving. New engines are generally considered reliable. At least, there were no mass complaints to them yet. True, on the first copies it is already possible to defect a turbine sweetened with oil. Although in this state, the turbocharger can last a few more years and up to 100,000 kilometers. The main thing is to change the engine oil every 10 to 15,000 kilometers and monitor its level. It should be noted that the force of the Ingenium family are demanding on the quality of fuel and oil. If something is not to their liking, they immediately announce themselves with the check engine symbol lit up on the instrument panel. also at each maintenance, it is necessary to reset the errors accumulated in the system. As for the hardware, like any supercharged engines and risk, they still have a turbine, injection nozzles, an oil pump and a turbocharger itself. Moreover, these parts and assemblies are expensive, and even more so in relation to the Jaguar brand. 6-cylinder engines, 340 and 380 forces, with the compressor instead of turbocharging, are endowed with high power density and are also reliable and environmentally friendly, although they are rather voracious. But the measures taken to increase the resource of the node made it possible to forget about the chain up to 200,000 kilometers. The British also radically solved the issue with the problematic ZF 6HP26 gearbox, replacing it with an 8-speed automatic of the same brand. The German automatic transmission has taken root in the English sedan since 2012. And during this time all chronic sores, and there were not so many of them, were already cut. The bugs turned out to be almost problem-free. One-time breakdowns happen from time to time, but they don't pull on statistics. By the way, until now, occasionally, some owners complain that the washer of the automatic selector can spontaneously jam. On this generation of the box, the officials recommend changing the oil in it along with the filter and pan every 60 to 100,000 kilometers, depending on the operation conditions. Prior to this, the automatic transmission was declared as unattended. The problems with the rear gearbox, which on the machines of the previous generation become famous for oil losses through the drive and shank oil seals, have also sunk into oblivion. If you do not top up the transmission in time, then running dry will quickly lead to failure of the final drive. Today this problem is solved, but it is still better to inspect this unit before buying. It seems that the Jaguar had a problem with seals. Pipe and hoses were leaking in the engine cooling system. Both radiators were losing fluid. Gearboxes and transfer boxes were sweating. Fortunately, all these defects are a thing of the past in 2012 and do not occur on the second XF. But what the hell is not joking? It is better to carry out a complete diagnosis, especially checking potential problem areas. The intelligent driveline dynamics all-wheel drive system with an interaxial clutch that automatically adjusts the front wheels when the rear wheels slip is quite reliable. Just remember to change the oil in the transmission units. This is also relevant because the clutch is integrated into the transfer case housing, from where it is fed with the liquid lubricant. Statistics on breakdown of all-wheel drive transmission is rather scarce, mainly due to its reliability as well as a modest number of such modifications in our market. But the suspension scheme, in front on 2 transverse levers, and at the back with a multi-link, is the same on any of the XF versions. There are practically no pitfalls in it. Let the chassis parts are made of aluminum alloy, they go long enough. That's just the prices for them cannot be called democratic, although recently they are more and more high quality and inexpensive non-original. Mechanics even claim that in terms of service life, Jaguar parts are not only not inferior, but often surpass those on classmates. Even the steering rack serves an average of 150,000 kilometers. In general, the repair of the chassis will by no means ruin if the process is approached creatively and with ingenuity. Thus, we found out that this sports business sedan, heaped up with electronics and innovative technologies, is quite possible to buy second-hand. Moreover, in almost any modification, although the choice of engines on fresh Jaguars is getting smaller and smaller every year, I'm also glad that the car loses its price very quickly and significantly, which makes the purchase even more desirable and profitable. If you have or had such a model, share information about what and how it breaks in the comments.